Justice Margaret Kimathi, NTV.
The heartbreaking story of Tamara again continues our conversation in studio with us. Two key voices working on the front lines of child protection and welfare. Karen Agengo is the Principal Secretary for Children Welfare Services, as well as Halima Sarah, who is a Child Protection and Safeguarding Advisor at Plan International. She is here on behalf of Joining Forces for All Children in Kenya, a powerful civil society consortium of 6 organizations working to end violence against children. Halima, as the Day of the African Child approaches, under that theme, planning and budgeting for children's rights, the bigger question is, are we doing enough? Talk to us about Joining Forces for All Children and these 6 organizations coming together. How are they using their collective power to support state mechanisms towards upholding children welfare?
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that question. First of all, I want to acknowledge and appreciate our president, because since history or inception, we've never had a state department for children welfare service. Children agenda has always been integrated in other agendas within the country. So this is a time in history where, as Joining Forces Alliance, we've actually taken the advantage. The moment that is with us here and sitting here with the Principal Secretary for State Department for Children's Service is quite overwhelming for us. So as an alliance, actually the budgeting period and the practice that we've had in place, and let me just emphasize on this, Michelle, and I know the public is watching, what we've done this particular period before the budget and the CS Treasury body went to Bunge yesterday, we had to make sure that we've met the chair of the National Parliament Budget Appropriation Committee. We had a conversation on how we are going to ensure that children voices are part of the public participation that were being organized across 11 counties. And through that particular engagement with the chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee, we reached an agreement and came up with the terms of reference on how children are going to be engaged. Actually, we had 1,945 children taking part in just presenting their views to the parliamentary clerks across the 11 counties. And out of that, we came up as an alliance. We did an analysis of the children views. A report was actually handed over to the the Parliamentary Budget and Appropriation Committee, who were present in the 11 counties. And at the moment, as we are speaking now, we also had an opportunity of meeting the parliamentary clerks, because that particular engagement was through a collaboration of the Department of Children Welfare Services and the National Council for Children's Service. We've never had an opportunity since history where children took part in the budget preparation. So as an alliance, that is one of the achievements and key milestone that actually we've drawn, and we have the children report that has been analyzed at national level, and we are happy to share with the media so that you can share with the public and just see what children felt should be prioritized in the financial year 2025-2026.
All right.
Yeah.
And we'll speak about that, public participation, because many wanted to be part of that, and it's good to hear that children were part of that. But P.S. Karen, even as the theme for the year, the Day of the African Child focuses on planning and budgeting for children's rights, data shows that most African countries, including Kenya, allocate only a fraction of their budget towards children protection and welfare, despite over 40% of the population in Africa being under 15 years old. What is the current budget allocation for the State Department for Children Welfare Services, and is it enough?
Thank you, Michelle. What I want to concur with what Halima is saying. The reason why we are talking about this theme as we approach the Day of the African Child, which is coming up on Monday, we are saying that if we collaborate and talk about children matters, then the budget for children will be enhanced. But I want to say that as a commitment that the government has done, first is to establish the State Department for Children. That is a commitment that we are handling Children Matters. And to go further, this financial year, the government has given us over 10 billion to work on matters of children. This is a budget which we believe will be enhanced as we will be progressing, and even as we will be presenting issues of children, which we did collaboratively with the joint forces and other partners, consulting the children, what do they really want? And we do have a report, and this report shows that children told us 70% of our children are saying food is a priority. And this financial year, yesterday the CS for Finance read the budget, and there's 2 billion which he said is allocated towards school feeding program. So you can see this is addressing already a need that the children told us in May, that they need food. And so the government is working progressively to provide for our children. We do have budgets which are allocated under the health sector to deal with immunization and children health matters. We also do have a budget which is allocated under basic education, because when we talk of children welfare, education is a right of children, and therefore a budget has already also been given for free primary education. And also our counties are not left behind, because the counties are handling ECD matters, early childhood, which is part of a basic right of children. So we do have a collaboration of the county and the national government working together to ensure they are budgeting for children. So this is a progressive issue that, as we will be celebrating, why we brought on board this theme is for us to focus on what can we do as a nation when it comes to planning and budgeting for children. Because when we plan today, the future of this nation is on children. If we don't deal with children matters at this particular moment, we will have economic instability, because children that are taken care of will lead to a peaceful nation. We will not have conflicts in the future, because we will have handled children matters at the earliest point of time.
Right. And when we began, you mentioned, of course, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, and your department is tasked with enforcing the Children's Act as well. So in practical terms, when you take these two documents together, what does this obligation mean, and how is the government translating this obligation into real protection for vulnerable children? Because planning and budgeting is one thing, but how does it trickle down to the vulnerable population?
First, I will talk about the better agenda, which is the current government's agenda. When it comes to social aspect of it, we have the social pillar under the better agenda, and social protection is one of the key things that the government is putting a focus on. And the issue of vulnerable children is one key issue which is in that document. And as a government, what we are doing under the children's in my department is to ensure the vulnerable orphans and vulnerable children are well taken care of through the families that they're living with. So we do have a program where we have over 400,000 families are already benefiting by getting some cash transfer. Those who are living with orphans and vulnerable children can get something that can provide some food and keep these children going to school to ensure we deal with that issue of vulnerable children. Apart from that, the government has committed for universal health care, and one of the basic things under children is a right to health care. So under universal health care, again, that is under the social aspect of the pillar, is to ensure our children access health when they are young. And so we do have nutrition programs also for the children, and we also do have immunization programs which are dealing with health matters. So in the social pillar of the better agenda, all this is dealing with children matters, and that is one of the things that I can say we are addressing when it comes to rights of children, which is provided for in those treaties that I've explained, and also in the Children's Act, we do have those rights specifically indicated, and the government has the obligation to promote those rights.
Absolutely. Halima, your consortium has been pushing for more child-sensitive budgeting, and we hear P.S. Karen here talking about 2 billion shillings for the school feeding program, another allocation for allocation of vaccines as well. What specific policy wins or funding increases have you seen so far, and what more needs to be done?
Okay. Actually, the education sector has won, and when you look at the analysis that was done for the children views across the 11 counties, through that analysis, you'll realize most of the items that were highly scored were elements to do with the school setting, like school laboratories, school books, and the school feeding program actually came out as key. So those are the key issues that we felt were a takeaway within the budget that was actually presented, and within the budget statement that was aired by the Cabinet Secretary. But just to mention to you, Michelle, is that the Alliance, we've done quite a lot, apart from just supporting the State Department for Children Welfare Service with the child participation across the 11 counties. We've also submitted the memo to Parliament that actually highlighted some of the existing gaps within this budget. And what the Principal Secretary has just mentioned is it's a win, because we've seen some of the commitments within the budget statement that has actually highlighted child protection issues that needs to be prioritized within the country. Yeah.
When it comes to child welfare and protection, many times the community is perhaps a key player. P.S. Karen, what are some of the systemic or maybe community-level failures that you believe are letting children fall through the cracks? Children like Amanda, children like Tamara, whose stories we've aired tonight, despite the legal protections that are already in place.
Thank you, Michelle. What is happening is that we have analyzed what is causing child protection issues. We have a system in place. We call it Child Protection Information Management System, where anybody can report a matter on children. And last year, we received about 170,000 cases in this system, recorded in this system, affecting children. Several cases of neglect, cases of children getting lost, and children running away from families because they do not feel safe. And we have analyzed these reports, and what is coming out is that a lot of the causes is on parental negligence, and it is within the family. So you find child protection is more from the family side. And so what we have come up with is a program to train people on parenting. We are calling it positive parenting. It's so that people get to know, how do we parent? Some children are not feeling safe at home, so they run away and try to look for a safer place. You find they will go to children's homes, and or maybe go to another neighbor, and the neighbor will report, this is not my child. So we have a system of a children officer in every sub-county, even here in Nairobi. That's why I said we have dispatched our team to the family of the child that has just lost their life. And even we dispatched a team of Tamara case in Nyeri. I've been keeping abreast, and as late as today, I was informed about the matter in court. So what we do, our children's officer will work closely with families where there are issues of children. They also do psychosocial counseling to these families, and try to bring these families together and to accept and bring up their children in a way that the child can feel safe at home. We have systems where sometimes we reintegrate children that have left their families back to their families through this kind of system, because we feel that a child that lives in the family, a child that lives at home, is a better child than one who lives in a children's home. The child will thrive, the child will grow to be a better child, and the child's confidence will be better when they live at home. So we have found out that a child that lives with the parents or even relatives where there are no parents is much better in a home setup. And so we have those programs to ensure the families are taking care of their children. In terms of community, we do also have the community coming up in the sense that they can be each other's keeper. Remember, if a child gets lost and there's somebody in the community, then they can easily report. We have the setup of the national government administration at the chief level, where the community can also come up and find out if this family is having a problem, alcoholism, defilement issues, then the community will come up. But issues of defilement, we are saying there is no negotiation.
All right, and let me just get a follow-up from that, because like you mentioned, with regard to children and the phasing out of children's homes in the country, and yes, it is best case scenario to live with your family, but there are situations where that is not possible, where the family is the hostile party here. How much of the budget allocation towards children welfare services this year is going into repatriating these children, rehabilitating them into this home setup that you're speaking about?
So we are having 44,000 children in this country living in children's homes. These are 902 homes where we have children living there outside their families. What we have done in the setup of our children's officers, who are the main people who deal with these matters, we have come up with what we are calling an alternative family care program. This is a strategy that we have put in place, will be running up to 2032, because the Children's Act has given us that timeline to phase out and ensure our children are taken back to their families or to alternative families. Alternative is a case where there could be hostility, and so we look for a foster parent to take care of these children. We have adoption, people who are willing to adopt children who have been abandoned at young age and they cannot be traced to anybody. There are people who are willing to adopt them. So we have systems in place of what we are calling alternative family care, where children can go instead of living in the children's home. And this program has a budget, which it is part of the 10 billion that I mentioned. And we are working with the partners on training even foster parents. We are saying, if you are willing to take a child, why can't you then come for our training as a foster parent? And then once we assess and evaluate that this family is safe and you can take care of these children, we can give you 1 or 2 children to stay within your family. There will be evaluation and monitoring to find out that this child is safe, and if we find the child is living in a good environment, then you are allowed to stay with this child. So this is a program which is ongoing and it will run up to 2032.
Okay. Halima, as we wind up, let me give you the final comment ahead of the Day of the African Child, with that focus on planning and budgeting for children's rights. What are your expectations?
My expectation is, the government to put into practice what they're projecting out there. We might have figures in writing, but the question is, does it translate to the action? Does that child within a village in Lodo, in Turkana, in Mandera, going to benefit from the budget that has been allocated and actually stipulated within the Treasury? Because children agenda, and let me just mention to the public, children cuts across all sectors within the public. When you go to the Ministry of Health, when you go to the Ministry of Education, any ministry. So the question is, do these figures translate into reaching out to that particular child within the village setup? So my expectation is for the state to continue allocating more funds to children, even beyond Day of the African Child, because as I've mentioned initially through this conversation, Michelle, is that as an alliance, we've done a number of build-up activity towards Day of the African Child. Not just an alliance, also we have UNICEF, who has come up with a whole costing model that calls for investment in the children's sector, and will continue sensitizing the members of the parliament, the treasury, for them to understand what it means by the word child protection. Absolutely. Because when you mention child protection and you mention a child to Bunge, to treasury, they'll translate it to a child in education. But child protection issues, the news bulletin today brought the story of baby Tamara, brought the story of baby Amanda. There are cost implications that are related towards managing any child protection incident within this country, and there are major gaps, and we have reports and information that can actually showcase that, and our PS is here, and we'll continue collaborating.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Halima Sarah and Principal Secretary for State Department for Children Welfare Services, Karen Agengo. Many thanks for speaking to us on NTV today. And let's take a break on the broadcast. But the story of Amanda, the story of Tamara, they may all break our hearts, but they must also stir our conscience. So as we celebrate the Day of the African Child on Monday, the 16th, may we move from grief to accountability, because a nation that cannot protect its children cannot protect its future. We'll take a break here on NTV Weekend Edition. Much more still to come. Just stay with us.